Bog Panda.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bog Panda. I am Dr. Mike, Official Pagan on everything. Joining me, as always.
Hi, everybody. This is Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram. And we would greatly appreciate it if you would consider giving our channel, some of the videos on our channel, a like, maybe subscribe, share it with your friends. And as you're sharing with your friends, be sure to point them to our fine merchandise. We greatly appreciate it.
And if we make a feature-length episode, it could probably win an Academy Award. But
can our summer vacation be re-released as a director's cut too? There you go. We can
now that it seems possible that we could win an Academy Award, we need to find this out.
Streaming Coda, so a streaming movie won Best Picture. There's the whole Army of the Dead thing. So things are looking up.
Oscar.
Things are looking up for our summer vacation.
Yeah, we got this. But today we're here to talk about a new retro gaming collection coming from Konami. So a lot of these collections have been coming out recently. Konami's done a few of them, and I picked up the first Castlevania collection that they did, and it was really, really well done. Because not only did you get a bunch of the classic Castlevania games, but beyond that, you also got the Japanese import versions of those games that you could toggle back and forth between. So you can see some of the different content that was region specific in those games. And particularly with Castlevania, there was a lot of that with censorship issues and things like that. Swastikas don't mean the same thing everywhere. So that was a big one.
Yeah. That's almost a t-shirt, but it's not going to be
almost.
That's just too much now. I mean, it kind of, no, not a t-shirt.
Right on the edge.
Yeah. Not even on the edge.
But they have a new one coming out that I'm particularly excited about, almost as much as I was the Castlevania, maybe even a little more, because this seems like it has even more content. That's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection. Now, what is your history with Ninja Turtles games for anybody who didn't catch us talking about that before?
Yeah, so not nearly. I'm a much shallower river than you on many things, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles most definitely. So I mean, I've had arcade experience with the primary stand-up unit, and then multiple versions on the Ad Games Legends that I have. I've got a couple of those to enjoy through coin ops and all that, but so minimal involvement beyond some of our past discussions. But you're a big fan, Mel, who hopefully at some point I get back and doing some podcasting with her as well. She's a giant Turtles fan, so we talk about that. And also Mel's also a gamer, so familiarity but not steeped. And so I'm really interested to hear kind of what you've been able to do so far as the breadth that's going to be here, because it might be a way for me to kind of up my turtle game.
I was going to say, this could be a good way for you to jump in. And one of the announcements, although it doesn't say what specific games, is that some of these games will now be available to play online with other people. So that is a really interesting thing. It seems that it's coming out for every platform, digital and physical media. I'm going to be getting it through Steam, I'm sure, but it has 13 games at the core of it. Pretty much all of the Konami Ninja Turtles games, as far as I can tell. It also comes with artwork and sketches, like behind the scenes making of stuff, just like the Castlevania collection did. It's also some of the games, again, it doesn't say. I assume Turtles in Time is one of them, though, because they did this with it before. It's going to have like an HD skin you can put on it to give it more of an upgraded look if you don't want the retro look. In addition to the 13 games, also like Castlevania, you are going to get the Japanese versions of 11 of the games. So I don't know how extreme the differences are. Castlevania is actually a little more minimal. It's usually just some blood, and the Nintendo games have a lot of the religious stuff was taken out of the Castlevania games, like crosses and things like that, were minimized. There's still some of that stuff because it is vampire related, but minimal religious stuff, no blood, and the pesky swastika in the kids Castlevania game. which again means something different in their culture. So that was taken out, of course. So I'm not sure what the difference in the Japanese versions of the Turtles games are, but I do know the European versions of the Turtles games were heavily, heavily censored. They couldn't say the word ninja. So the titles were altered to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles is what they were changed to. And some of the weapons were actually changed because they were worried the kids would find similar things and try and use them as weapons. So those were heavily altered, those versions. So I'm not sure where the Japanese ones fall in there.
So
Interesting.
I'm confused. So what kind of weapon? So like I could say, nunchuck, someone could get an idea how to build one of those. But in terms of trying to come up with something that couldn't be replicated, what are they fighting with? A well-composed Yoko Ono album? What are they
See, I'm not sure. I never really played these. I know that it played a huge role. Even it affected the movies and the TV show as well. I don't know if have you seen the live action movies, the original ones?
Saw most of the first one.
Okay. So the first movie, I believe it's PG rated, but would probably be R now. Because characters die, kids smoke and drink, and there's plenty of cursing throughout. No F-bombs, but plenty of cursing throughout it. It's actually a pretty good balance if you've ever read the original graphic novels and then seen the cartoon. They did a pretty good job of blending those things. It's sort of like the movie Doctor Sleep, if you've ever seen that.
I have not.
Okay, so there's a movie called The Shining, and Stephen King wrote a book called The Shining. Other than they're both called The Shining, they have nothing in common. So when they made Dr. Sleep, which the book is a direct sequel to the book, and Warner Brothers wanted to make a direct sequel to The Shining, the director of that movie did a really good job at blending those two completely unrelated before that point things. And it's actually a pretty watchable, entertaining movie. Especially if you've seen both, they made really smart choices in combining these totally unrelated things. And that's the way the first movie feels to me. They take the basic storyline of the original graphic novel, but sort of graft in elements of the cartoon, so it's a little more accessible.
Sure.
Because the graphic novel is a lot darker than the kids' cartoon was. So it made it a little more accessible. So I really like that. The second movie is very kid-oriented, and they never take their weapons out. Their weapons just stay glued to their bodies. They fight with all kinds of things, but it's random things they find around them in the environment. They don't take their weapons out in the movie. And a big part of that was the issues they had in Europe with the games and the show and things like that. So, and it's very noticeable because obviously rather than reshoot the whole movie, that's just the way the movie was made for the second one. But once it's noticeably more kid friendly, and once somebody explains to you they never take their weapons out, you can't not notice that. They're just using anything in the environment to defend themselves or fight off bad guys other than the weapons that they have on them. When they're grabbing like bread and lunch meat and throwing them at ninjas and not using the sword strapped to their body, you do notice that kind of stuff as an adult.
In Yoko Ono albums.
And Yoko Ono albums. The most deadly weapon of all.
Right. They don't throw them at them, they put them on.
They just, everybody stop. They pull out a little turntable.
Deal with this.
So I'm curious to see what those editions are. I love the art book edition. But I like that you get the Japanese versions for 11 of the games. Doesn't say how many are online. I will go through the games really quickly, though. You do get the two famous arcade games, the eponymous game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Turtles in Time, both of which are included on the Arcade 1-Up 4-player cabinet that I have. Both of those were big arcade games. Then you get the Nintendo games. You get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the timeline here gets a little confusing for people. So I'll try and make it make sense. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for Nintendo is not a port of the arcade game. It's its own game. It is an infamously difficult game. Whenever you look up videos of like most difficult or most frustrating games, it's almost always on there. And it is. I don't think ever in my life have I wanted to smash a TV with a controller before, other than playing that game. It's super fun. It's a really good game, but just so frustrating when you're playing it. Then that had a sequel called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, which is a port of the arcade game, but made as a sequel to the original Nintendo game. So they made changes to it, not just to pare it down to fit on the NES, but there is changes to the levels to make it feel more like an NES game, which is weird. Then there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project, another NES game, which is a direct sequel to the Nintendo version of the arcade game, but not a Nintendo version of the second arcade game. This is where people get confused with those. There's also going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, the NES game. This is a really important one. So at the height of the fighting game boom, there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fighting game, and they made a real weird choice with it, where every platform that it went to got a completely different game. It was a one-on-one fighting game with the Turtles, but different characters other than the Turtles, different side characters, different backstories, different backgrounds, moves, everything. So each platform is a completely different game. So you'll see some really mixed opinions about this game. It's usually dependent upon which version of it they're playing. So all of them are included in here. It's also of note that it was on Nintendo because there's only a couple of other one-on-one fighters that were ever released for that platform. Then we switch to Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo gets the very confusingly titled Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, picking up after Manhattan Project. And this one is a home port of Turtles in Time, which is the second arcade game. So it's number 4 in the home Nintendo timeline and the second in the arcade game. But again, making changes to it to fit the home version of it.
Sure.
Then we get the Super Nintendo version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. Again, totally different game, different characters. Good version of the game, though. I also really like the Genesis version, which a lot of people don't, but it's good. It's also included here because you get all of them. So we get, speaking of Genesis, we get Tournament Fighters, and we also get the Hyperstone Heist. This is a really good game. This was the first Turtles game released on Genesis, and basically it's a compilation of levels from all of the other games. So they took the best enemies, the best levels, and everything, and smashed them all into one game. So it's actually a really good game because it's kind of a best of. Since Genesis missed all those games, they just made this sort of best of package of them. So that's a really good game and a good inclusion. What's really interesting after that, the final 3 games on there are the 3 original Game Boy games for it. So that starts with Fall of the Foot Clan. Again, back to confusing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, back to the sewers. This is a sequel to Fall of the Foot Clan, not related to the Nintendo series. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, again, part of this series, Radical Rescue. So Radical Rescue I've never played, but Fall of the Foot Clan was one of my favorite of the early Game Boy games. It was one of the first games to kind of break out of that very minimalist look that those early Game Boy games had. Like Game Boy, as we said in the Mortal Kombat episode, was really Tetris and similar, very minimal puzzle type games. So this gave you a real full platforming kind of feel like you would get on a Nintendo.
Cool.
Any of those you played, sir, other than the arcade game?
Nope, just the arcade game. And I'm still trying to do the math on all of the connections.
Yeah.
I think you explained it well. But yeah, so I mean, this will be good. And so on all platforms, you're going to have a Steam option.
Yeah.
So which is probably going to be the route I'll go, because I do think I will go with this. So I'm excited. And of course, the release date is
2022. But they're taking pre-orders now. You can pre-order the game now.
There's an Amico version available.
Yeah, it's going to be on the Amico. So they're taking pre-orders for it now, but the game is undated. Every gaming site that I've seen is assuming it's going to be summer. But if you go on Amazon, like to put a pre-order in or anything like that, it's dated at the end of the year. I think they all just say December 31st. But according to Konami, it's just sometime this year. So everybody's assuming summer, that's why they're doing the pre-orders now.
We'll have to keep an eye out. That's definitely something that we'll keep you folks posted if we get any.
And it looks to be around $40.
Oh, that's a pretty good deal for.
It is, yeah. At first, I thought it was a little steep, and I saw some comments about that. But you're getting a lot of content. You're getting 13 games, 11 alternate versions of games, the art book, the online play, things like that. So I do think you're getting a lot of content for the $40.
Cool. Well, we'll have to see what kind of how that all transpires there, because if I'm assuming if you get a Steam copy and I get a Steam copy, then we might be able to show some online play as well. It should be.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited, especially to see which game. I assume it's going to be the arcade games, since those are both 4 players, so that would make sense to do something like that, to have a multiplayer online. But I'm curious to see if any of the other ones, other than the arcade games.
Yeah, that's a nice additional bonus feature if it does add that some of the other games. That'd be very cool.
Yeah, either way, even if it's just the arcade games, it's still pretty cool, because even on the arcade cabinet itself, or legally emulating it on any other arcade systems you might have, you can't play online with other people. So any way you look at it, any of those games being online is a cool addition as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely.
Well, anything else you want to add about the Turtles, sir?
Nope. And I'm sorry if there are any Yoko Ono fans out there. But
he took a lot of shots at Yoko Ono.
It was a pretty heavy anti-Yoko show, but I stand by my stance on that. But there can't be any fans out there. You just can't.
Have you ever listened to a Yoko Ono album?
Not end to end. No, I mean, I can't make it through. No, I'm not a fan.
I never liked the Beatles. So for you Beatles fans out there, get mad at me now. I don't hate the Beatles or anything like that. It's never been my thing. It's not for me. So many people have tried, like, Beatles fans are the worst. Sorry, guys. Beatles fans are the worst, because they try and convince you that you're wrong. That the Beatles are the greatest band of all time. They can't accept, especially in deference. They would prefer you hated the Beatles. But the fact that I'm just like, whatever, angers people who have tried so hard to convince me. So somebody got really close once and was like, no, you'll like John Lennon's solo. And they had me really close to convinced on this. They were like, trust me, buy a John Lennon CD. You'll love it. So I went to, I want to say it was Tower Records at the time. And I went into Tower Records, and they had just reissued the Two Virgins album. So that was like a big display in the front of the store. And I think it was like $8 or something like that, because it had just come out. So I was like, let me try. I had a gift card. It's like, let me try this out. Buy the album, get past the gross cover art, and put the album in, ready to be blown away. And it's them making weird noises and screaming and stuff like that. And I was just like, I hate Beatles fans. But that's my entirety of knowledge of Yoko Ono's music.
That's enough. A little goes a long way.
That's all I never listened to it again. I don't even know what happened to the CD.
That's a shame. So you got the Beatles fans mad at us. Yoko fan, whoever that person is in the world, he's mad at us. Or Yoko's mad at us. She might be the only fan.
It's just her watching it. I just wanted to hear about the Turtles. She calls up Will Smith.
Go get all Chris Rock on these guys. So we'll see. But okay, I think on that note, it's a good time to wrap things up. Say thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.